Well, the rainy season has begun. I'll show it there. Lashing down. This begins. Constant smell of damp and being wet all the time if you go outside. I think if there is a hell, it must be that. Just endlessly raining on grey roofs. Anyway, that particular bit of merriment aside. So the rainy season started, so doubtless soon there'll be those loudspeaker announcements from Chiakashaw City Hall here, warning people that it's raining and like not to climb on their roofs wearing slip-on shoes to fix an aerial or something while it's raining because it's dangerous, or something very sort of self-evident like that kind of thing. I mean, until they sort of stopped the lockdown or the partial lockdown here they had for the coronavirus, there were City Hall announcements twice a day, like reminding people to wash their hands and stuff. But they always broadcast something. The lockdown stopped, and until the start of the rainy season, I don't think they had anything to say particularly. So they just randomly broadcast like piano music, snatches of piano music, which I guess is supposed to induce a calming sensation in people, but it's just like really distorted because it's just played through these, megaphone type speakers. So it's kind of has the opposite effect, or it does for me. The reason I say all this was, there was one of these awful Talento programs recently. I did a rant about Japanese TV in another video. But in one of these programs, they've now, apparently, Japan was voted the noisiest country in the world. I think it's October 2019. It's about half a year ago, or a little bit more. I found one thing on it on Reddit. That was kind of it. But it was mentioned on this program anyway. So I can't stick in any particular link to prove it. But I don't think there's few people, anyone who knows Japan would argue that it's not noisy. But yeah, the Talenters seemed like really surprised in that. And then I don't know why but they showed some videos of like these game shows. I don't know where they got them from. It sounded like Spanish or something. And there was this one moody guy. There was like, he said verbatim, he said, "Oh, aren't these foreigners just really noisy themselves? Like all foreigners, this thing Gaijin," or he said Gaijin-san. Like all foreigners exactly the same. There's a program from Spain, or wherever, I think it was Spain, and they weren't even absolutely noisy. It was just clapping. It was like a game show. It's like, yeah, so that proves that all foreigners are noisy, right? Muppet. So yeah, but they apparently they took mild umbrage to Japan having been voted the noisiest country in the world. Before I continue any further, let me say this isn't a critical video of Japan or anything. It's just a fact that Japan is noisy for one reason or the other, and I'm not judging it or anything. I'm a guest here, and one thing I like about Japan is like you're kind of welcome so long as you play by their rules, and if you don't, then you're welcome to go back to the airport and go home. I really like that, and being from England, that's quite refreshing for me to see. Say no more. Yeah, so where was I going with this? Yeah, I mean, Japan is noisy. When my father first came here, after I moved, my mother and my father came, and my father used to run a building company till he retired, and I took him to a OK Home Centre, which is a DIY store, and I took him in there, and I didn't say anything. And what it is, they play a high-pitched synthesizer version of Yankee Doodle on just loop all day long. So I won't do this for long, but it really is. It's just like that, going round and round and round. It must be in the West. It'd be mental cruelty. You couldn't do it. It's like torture. I can imagine like the Americans doing it at Guantanamo Bay or something to torture, capture, suspect Taliban fighters or something. Oh, please don't play Yankee Doodle one more time. I'll tell you anything. And anyway, I didn't say anything to my dad, and my dad started to twitch. Then he looked up. He said, "Well, what's going on here?" And anyway, I said, "Yeah, I didn't say anything. I told him why I did a bit of sense." He said, "God, in England, you'd be having people saying you're taking the PISS, quite as well as the mental cruelty to the staff." But it just seems there has to be some noise all the time. Let's just quickly list them off. So I've done the loudspeaker announcements from City Hall. My children's sports day, there's just this constantly like military type music playing, and teachers shouting through megaphones. I mean, not just to assist their voice a bit because it's a bit crowded and busy. I mean, they're really shouting above this music. It's Minasan, there's always a sort of almost a sort of quasi-military type thing to it. I think that's why the Japanese love baseball, because it's that continual sort of playing music and chanting and stuff. I go out into the arcade. There's people, fair dues, they're collecting for charity, but they have to do that they're constantly chanting, and then onegaishimasu, they all come in and the tickets take turns in it. I mean, it just goes on. Fireworks for pretty much education. The elections, where 8 o'clock in the morning on the dot, bang, speakers get up, Minasan gozaimasu, good morning everyone, and the trucks are driving around blasting out broadcasting messages. Yeah, I mean, it just goes on. And I take the dog out in the morning. So I'm kind of just listing stuff here, but I take the dog out in the morning, and I take him down by Spectacles Bridge, the river. Really nice. Of course, there's an old boy there. He sets up, there's a little shrine to worship. 6 o'clock in the morning on the dot, bang, on goes his radio. And this thing I noticed old men seem to like. A lot of them have radios hanging off their belts as they walk around. This guy's not got it off his belt. But it's this thing, it's barely tuned in. It's hovering between two stations, and it's at 6 in the morning. I mean, in every country, I think you'd have the neighbours coming out going, what the hell do you think you're doing? But he just does it, and it's bang, 6 o'clock in the morning. I was just walking around enjoying the early morning, bang, on comes a noise. Oh, here we go, right, yeah. And in our old flat, we had a real bad problem. Well, two mental old women. One had two radios playing, the next block of flats along, next apartment block. Two radios playing at the same time, and she'd stand on her balcony and blow soap bubbles. And it's this thing, the Japanese are really reticent to address it. I said, this is ridiculous. Eventually, I sort of begged my wife to write a letter, because, in Japanese, it takes about 2 years to put a letter together and post it through, saying, can you please turn it down and that. Even that didn't really work for that long. And they're really reluctant. Oh, no, just ignore it. I was sleeping with, I'll show you exactly what I've got. And when I tell you the next thing that happened here, the noise, I've got these things. I have to wear them to sleep. I had to wear them with that woman because the radio had just gone really late into the night. Thankfully, never bothered my wife or daughters. But now I can't sleep without them, because also we had a mad woman living on the floor below. This is our old, we rented for a while before we bought this place. And this woman, she used to shout and scream and throw stuff around all through the night and drag furniture around. And at the time, I'd taken I had a bit of successive writing. I'd sold some books, so I was staying at home and writing. And she was dragging stuff around during the day. It was just mad. There was just no break. I don't know when she slept. And one time, about 2 in the morning, I went down and I stood outside her room and I could hear her screaming, really freaky. And I said to my wife, like that. And again, the other people said, Japanese all sort of came together and said, oh, well, she lost her husband 2 years ago and she's still grieving. And at that time, I was so tired, stressed, I actually just said, I don't care. People lose people, and I'm sorry for that, but they don't, make everyone else suffer around them because of it. But then we moved here, moved in here, and we had to ask the neighbour above us to stop if their children could not practice sumo wrestling or whatever it was they were doing, and making our flat shake as they smashed onto the floor all through the day. It just went on. But yeah, noise here, and of course, why is Japan so noisy? And we've had problems with noise in it when I lived in England. Of course, every country's got it, but I've done a rant about the TV here as well. It's just constant. The adult TV, children's TV is, I find, really quite enjoyable to watch. Some of the programs are really cleverly put together, cleverly designed. Children's TV, adults TV, on a lot of it, it's just awful. I've done another video about it. It's called Japanese TV, a rant. It's just, everything is just hyper. The presenters are hyper, so they must be on pills. They just shout. It's the most mundane things. Look at that tree. Oh, it's so big. Oh, look at it. Look. Just like that, I don't know. So why is Japan so noisy? Well, I don't have an answer. I think like the city hall broadcasts and stuff. I think it reassures a lot of people, or people shouting in megaphone stuff. It sort of points them in the right direction. It gives them order. I think that's it. Well, and the TV, maybe it allows people to switch off. Like you can't think with it on. You just can't. So you don't have to. And if you don't get irritated by it, you must sort of go into this weird sort of Zen-like trance, which is kind of the opposite. I mean, Japan, you think like Zen and peace and, swaying bamboo forests and stuff. Then you come here and like you walk past a pachinko parlor or something. It's just this wall of noise. And I've seen Motorhead 3 times. I'm used to noise. Oh, I saw Motorhead. Rest in peace, Lemmy. I saw Motorhead 3 times, but pachinko parlor. God, you walk past it, my blast you. And all the other noise factors I've made. So yeah, I think for some people, sort of maybe it fills the void a bit. And, if people are, and there's a big problem, loneliness and people living alone here. So I guess all through the world. I mean, when I had a bedsitter guy below me was, had the TV on just way too loud all the time. It was a real problem. But TV, I don't know, I'm just not a fan of it at all. Unless it's something specific I want to watch. It just seems to be like a drug for a lot of people. But I know I'm not exactly, breaking new ground by saying that. Wasn't someone who said television the drug of a nation, causing grief in human relations or something? Anyway, so I just think some people some Japanese and the group thing, when minasan, like everybody, when they're steering them in the right direction, it's kind of that they can feel part of the group and they're being shepherded and they're being told what to do and stuff. I don't mean that patronising, but I just mean that as I've been here 10 years, so I've noticed a few things. I'm not saying it's correct, but it's my interpretation of it. I'm not belittling or patronising anyone, but the Japanese do like being in groups and having specific tasks and where to go and things to do. They like working together. It's this whole cooperation thing, and the noise and the megaphones and everything seems to sort of aid that, assist that, I guess. Anyway, so that's Japan. Why is it so noisy? I'm not really answered the question. I've given some examples of it, or why, or what makes it noisy anyway. Right, I'll sign out now. I've just walked the dog. I'm just going to try and dry my shoes.